Are you ready for the heavyweight championship of the world? Are you ready?
Hey, and we're back. Welcome to another episode of Ant in His Corner. Coming out the white corner, my name is Bill, and I'm ready to fight.
And coming out the black corner, my name is Barry, and I'm ready to fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Ant in His Corner, where we settle the score once and for all on who's the best. That includes best music, best shows, best movies, best anything. And this week, what are we talking about, Bill?
35 years later, we are going to discuss the movie School Daze. This year, 2023, marks the 35th year anniversary of the movie School Daze.
Cool, let's jump into it. So when we talk about this movie, Bill, for those of us out there who don't know what this is, it's a classic, but enlighten us on some of the background information about this film.
School Daze. School Daze was released in 1988, excuse me. It is a Spike Lee film, and the movie is based on Spike Lee's experiences when he went to Morehouse back in the 70s. The movie is based on an HBCU school, excuse me, an HBCU school. And, you know, it talks about the typical stereotypes of an HBCU, whether it's from a light-skinned, dark-skinned side, from a fraternity, sorority. They dealt with issues as far as Africa and apartheid and everything else on the spectrum.
Yeah, the best way I try to describe this movie, it's basically, if you've never been to an HBCU, it sums up what homecoming weekend looks like, you know. So
yes,
it's basically homecoming weekend, a typical homecoming weekend at HBCU. All right, so let's jump into key moments. This movie has a lot of iconic moments. We're going to try to touch some of our favorite parts. I guess we'll start off with music, Bill.
Well,
what did you think? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Before we hit the key moments, let me back up so we can talk about some of the actors.
Okay.
And actresses that were in this movie. We have Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep. Dap.
Dap. He was the head of the Fellas, right?
Yeah.
Basically Me Five Me, but they're called the Fellas.
Yeah.
You got Tisha Campbell, who was head of the Gamma Rays.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it. Ozzie Davis, he was the football coach.
Yeah.
And he's been in a lot of Spike Lee films. It's typically, if you see Ozzie Davis, you see Ruby D.
Yep.
You see Ruby D. You got, make sure I say this right, Giancarlo Esposito, which is Big Brother Almighty. Okay. He was, again, he's been in a couple Spike Lee films.
Before he
wavy
was
hair,
before he was on Breaking Bad, he was the villain on this, you know. So quote unquote, he was villain. We'll talk about it.
He's Dap's antagonist. They're both going at it.
Yeah.
You got Daryl Bell, Ron Johnson, Different World.
Yeah.
He was a Gamma. You had Art Evans. He worked for the school, but
was that the one that was. That's Ron's dad on Different World.
That's Ron's dad on Different World.
Okay,
that's who
he was
that
like
is.
basically supporting the dean.
Yep, he was a support. He was supporting the dean. You got Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to cover all the characters because of the extras. No. You got Jasmine.
Yeah. Well, you got Jasmine Guy. You got Kadeem Hardison. AJ Johnson.
Spike Lee's sister.
Spike Lee's sister. Spike Lee. Bill Nunn, who's R.I.P. He was Radio Raheem. And Ron G. Smith, he was one of the Gamites, and he was also in Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, the light-skinned guy, Get on the Bus. So those are your key characters.
Yeah.
Key actors and actresses.
Yeah, it's a lot of familiar faces. So I guess we'll jump into music first. Any highlights, like when you think of music?
To me, this was a musical.
Yeah.
That,
and also just the score. I know he got his dad to make the score. So that before they had an estranged relationship, his dad was a big jazz head, which is like that's you can see the inspiration on Mo Better Blues.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of the score has some jazz undertones.
Yeah.
And
then
you got some pop hits like Doing the Butt during the during the school dance. And then you got one of my favorite numbers on the film is actually the Better Match, like this during the sex scene with Big Brother Almighty and I keep calling her Gina, but yeah, so just a lot of highlights when we look at music. And like you said, it is a musical. It's kind of weird because they break off into a dance number for my favorite scene, which is Good and Bad Hair.
Good and Bad Hair. So,
yeah, it has all the makings that it's technically a musical. Yeah.
So again, actually Branford Marsalis, he does have a song or two on the soundtrack. However, he was also one of the characters. He played he was actually in the movie. So and anybody knows anything about the Marsalis family? So you got Branford, Witten, the father. Those guys are heavy into jazz, and Branford actually I think he was the executive producer for the soundtrack on Mo Better Blues.
Yeah, that's the
they have the tie.
That's the sax dude, right?
Yeah, yep. He plays the sax. Yeah, so music all around. Spike Lee. One thing I do love about Spike Lee is kind of like a Tyler Perry type thing. He put his people to work. He put them in movies. We saw Kadeem Hardison in at least 2 movies, Do the Right Thing.
They're not SAG. A lot of these people went to Howard. They were in the film program. And I think even the nerdy one that's part of the fellas. James Bond. I know he used to direct too, because I saw a movie.
Oh, really?
I had a VHS called Death by Temptation. It had Samuel L. Jackson, him, as well as Kadeem Hardison on it. So that's how I found out he's a director. So he was putting on a lot of people, and they weren't SAG. So this movie got made on a budget. Yeah, like you said, he put him to work.
But for the music, like you said, I think about the Good and Bad Hair, a complete dance scene, if you think about musicals, that's that. Yeah. The Butt. Yeah. And that song gets played today. It has that go-go.
That's fantastic.
It's go-go. It's EU. It's go-go. It's music. Phyllis Hyman, I believe that's how I say her name. Please forgive me out there.
If you're wrong, that's how I would say it. So
she sang. Her song that she sang in the movie was on the soundtrack at the court. I believe
it wasn't at the coronation. It was at the.
It was at the dance.
Yeah.
It was at the dance,
and I think R.I.P. I believe she passed in a tragic way. I forgot, but I know something about it. I would have to re-Google her Wikipedia, but
matter of fact, it's when the boys, wasn't it when the song she sang that song when they crossed, right?
It was after they crossed when they went to the
party.
Yes. Yeah, they were at their party, but then it was showing. It kept showing like mixed scenes, and then the dude that sings like he's Stevie Wonder. I think he sang background for Stevie Wonder.
I had his name.
Yeah, if you look up his name, it's
I got it right here.
He sung background for Stevie Wonder. They sound extremely alike, man.
His name is, I want to give him a credit, Keith John.
There we go.
Keith
John.
John.
Look up his credits. I think he used to sing background for Stevie Wonder.
Keith John.
It sounds just like him. That's one of my favorite numbers on the film too. And then that's just the music. And technically, this film is recognized for its quotes. So let's get into some quotable moments. Just run them off, like your favorite scenes in the movie. At the very end. Yeah.
But the funny thing about Wake Up?
Yeah.
When you talk about Big Brother Almighty, look who woke up next to him.
He was with Jasmine, right?
He was with Jasmine.
But he said it before the party. He said, "Man, she's wearing me out. I gotta find me. I need
Jane.
She's too young. Jane. Yeah.
Jane Toussaint.
He had her in his letters, like she was wearing the G5G Adidas crossing fit. So that was kind of it showed kind of how shady he was. Also, Big Brother Almighty. Bro, that's my second favorite character in the movie. Is Half Pint. My first favorite is Dean Big Brother Almighty, and I can't say his name
Really?
without saying no. That's my first favorite character in the movie, bro.
Okay. Okay.
That's why I said even I like the way Spike. He was we supposed to be talking about quotes. We gonna get into some of that favorite scenes.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll put a pin in that to say just some other memorable quotes we got.
Jerry Curl trying to pop.
Yeah,
Kadeem
Hardison stole his scene just in that scene. And in all the greetings, but go ahead.
But even on that scene where I don't hope it I'm not I'll just use the N word. That's when Samuel Jackson, he said, look, you're in words and you're always going to be in words. And then Dap said to him, you're not in words.
Yeah.
That is that I think that exchange, the quotes meant a lot.
Yeah. And also, for someone who's, like if you've been to whether it's PWI or HBCU, if you go to a college, it does feel like a miniature city within itself. And I do think sometimes there is, a mindset of disrespect, vice versa, like towards the locals versus the college kids. I think me watching this movie helped me understand that dynamic. And whenever I, bumped into locals, it was always a respect thing because I know there was some animosity there. So that's a real
definitely animosity. We've seen it. We've seen it.
Yeah, if I didn't care, like it's just a lot of moments that are quotes for days. Like
Pastor, please. That's a quote.
The jigaboo, even the chants. Like I saw a sign up at the zoo. It said jigaboo. I saw a sign up at the zoo. It said jigaboo. Your hair is what is it? Your
hair is straight because you press it last night.
But you ain't white. Your hair is straight because you pressed it last night. But hey, actually get into some favorite scenes. And also, I guess we'll talk about characters. So
okay, so favorite scenes. First scene that I can recall just from the movie when it first came on is when Dap and they were having their little rally outside, and here you come. That's when you hear, who? That's
G5G. That's what I want to be. G5G.
That's what I want to be. That's when you first see the entrance of the Gammas.
Yep.
And they're coming in.
Yeah.
They got their boys online. Now remember, we'll come back to talk about the Greek life later.
Yeah.
But that scene, I think that set the tone of this group against this group.
Yeah.
And that set it off right there.
Keep in mind, here's the thing I like about this film. Spike Lee was, even though the Gammites and the Gammas may be and the gamma rays may be antagonists, they're kind of like neutral with agenda, meaning they're not bad guys. Like, so as a kid, I always favored more, the towards the Gammas more. Like, I'm like, that was my first introduction to Greek life. We'll get into it later, but I'm like, they're like my favorite characters. And as a kid, I always wanted to aspire to that. So to some of their scenes, because there's some controversial scenes with them. But go ahead. I got that as my that's my second favorite scene in the movie. My first favorite scene is Good and Bad Hair. Okay.
I think Good and Bad Hair would be my first. That'd probably be my favorite scene. Because that whole music interlude, that whole music dance. They did it with perfection. And a lot of them, I think people underestimate Jasmine Guy. She is a professional dancer.
Yeah.
So you can tell by the dance routine, they're just not, out doing famous, like famous dances, TikTok dances or whatever. They're doing actual.
They're doing everything. They're doing classical, African. Yes. They're doing hip hop. They at the time for hip hop, and they're doing
tap.
They're doing ballet, tap.
Yeah,
all
they're
of that.
doing it all. Yes. I think also, I would say when Half Pint tried to get the girl to bring her back.
Yeah.
So they were meeting all the girls.
I'll break you into it.
Can we make some Jiffy Pop popcorn?
Man,
y'all have to know what Jiffy Pop popcorn means.
It's always funny watching that scene because all of them women grown now. And it's like to watch all them young characters, like, man, y'all somebody grandmama right now. That's funny. But go ahead.
When Dap tried to apologize to his girlfriend, And if I didn't care, and then they
water
poured
out the
water,
window.
and that was AJ Johnson from House
Yep.
Party. You know, shout out to AJ Johnson
And the lady from the Tyler Perry movies in there.
Yeah. The lady from the Tyler Perry.
Yep.
Hey, the lady from the Tyler
that's
Perry.
why I said you could spend an hour on the characters and you're not going to be able to touch everybody.
I think the step show.
Step show is my third favorite scene.
The step show, which is funny because they actually had Alpha stepping. And then
ice baby.
Then you had the Gammas, and then the fellas, they did their little all they did was diss the Gammas.
So step back. To the C. Yes. When I say Gamma, you say Gamma.
Yeah, so that was a good scene. Finding out when Dap rolled up on Big Brother Almighty, Julian, when he rolled up on him as him and James were walking. That's when you find out, well, Dap was actually online. To be a Gamma, but he dropped.
And they used to be cool. Like they give them a backstory in there. I think some of it's hinted at in the library scene too. Like they used to be homeboys, and then they just went their separate ways.
Yeah.
But and I like that scene mainly because it shows there's some hypocrisy when it comes to Dap. Like he talking this good game, and then he not really caring about his homeboys. He's not looking out if they get kicked out of school. So he does kind of seem a little bit twisted mindset. And the same thing with Julian. Julian is also, bro, I'm trying to help my people here before I think about being concerned with apartheid. To where it, because on the surface he seems like a selfish reasons, but he gives a noble outlook to it. Sweat Blood is one of my favorite scenes too. Like when they're crossing, when they're actually holding their torch and all that. Sweat blood until you sweat.
You remember on that scene when they were holding half
just like I helped you last year.
He's like, yeah, you forgot I helped you last year. Like,
that was Dr. Feelgood. Dr. Feelgood was like, hey, let him carry his own weight. He's like, nah, shut up, Dr. Feelgood. Just like we helped you out last year. So,
You know what? I think probably would be another one of my top 5 scenes would be the beginning of the football game. Yeah, because that's when the band was rocking. Yeah, and it was in the whole it got the Kappas in the crowd. It got the I think the Deltas are in the crowd at that part. I want to say the Alphas were in the crowd, but they had a line because remember they all was sitting up.
I think that's the
tie.
I think that's the Kappas were there. Like the Kappas, one of them showed their line at the actual step show. It couldn't have been you know what? Actually, you may be right, but I think the Kappas were who's the one like somebody like no it showed them right before G5G. They were like
they were all of them just sitting down. But I think it could have been the Kappas or maybe the Alphas. But I do remember whoever it was, the people were online because you could tell they all were dressed alike, sitting, not moving. I believe they all had bald heads too. I got to go back and watch. Now that we're talking about it,
Deltas was in the Deltas was in the they was looking with the sad face when they started running up the score, so they was looking sleepy or whatever. So Deltas was there, but like you said, the crowd, it and it's kind of a stigma when it comes to HBCU sports. It's like the halftime is the game. So as soon as the band was done and they started running up that score, you see like just basically the air lets out of their sails. And so I thought that part was hilarious. And that coach definitely lost his job.
Poor Ossie Davis. That's why Spike kept him in movies, because he lost his job as a football coach. But that's when that's actually also when they had that fight between the
whoever
Gammas.
said that ain't got no mother.
The Gammas and the fellas. So they started fighting.
Yeah.
So now Big Brother Almighty, I think it was Patton, General George Patton. Yeah. He wanted to go ham on the Gammites.
That was their enforcer. That's their tail dog. Like, so and he's that in real life, he's Samuel L. Jackson's assistant. Or really? so every movie you see Samuel L. Jackson in, like during the early 2000s, he's in as well. So he's in Star Wars. Samuel used to always let him on. So he was basically that's another one of my favorite characters too. I was like, I like when we know the names, but General Patton, basically the main enforcer, the one that was handing out the the love taps when
I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
So
let's transition on to the Greek life.
Okay.
Guys,
This
some of you
jumping
know,
into
some of
legacy, is this does this technically count as legacy, or
you-
is this impact of the
well, yeah.
Yeah,
we could
go ahead.
call it impact, but as some of you know, some of you might not know, Bear and I are members of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I will say this movie this is what introduced me to Greek life.
Okay.
Different World was the one that capped it off for me to want to go to college and pledge.
Yeah, same here. This
was the beginning. Different World was the okay. That's
I got on this one first. Same with you. It came on after an episode of it was on Fox after an episode of In Living Color. I'm like, what is this? You know, and then I watched it and I was like, what the hell did I just watch? I want more of that. And then by the time I had saw Different World, it was already enough footprints there for me to kind of follow the tread. Like,
we were ready.
I'm gonna do that when I get to college.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the reason why you guys were able to see, or not you guys, but we all were able to see the Gamites crawling and doing, that's when pledging was above ground. So everything that they did was, when we say above ground, it was known to the university. So everybody could be standing in one line in the student union or wherever, and it was above ground.
Yeah.
So to watch,
it wasn't frowned upon. It was legal.
Yeah.
It was
legal.
Wasn't a lot of horror stories that you hear now, but like people passing away and stuff. But and then also just a fun fact. I know this movie was in line with Impact. When you talk about colorism and how, you know, different levels of blackness, Black people aren't monolithic, but sometimes we try to make ourselves fit into one box that you're not Black enough because of your skin tone, or you're too Black because of your skin tone.
Hence good or bad hair.
That. And in the way that Spike Lee really got that to show up on film.
Okay, you go say it then.
So is this what you were talking about prior? Like,
go ahead.
So basically he had him staying in different hotels to where the light-skinned gamma rays had nice hotels, and in the Jigaboos, they was in the, you know, the Motel 6s, you know, with dirty tubs and everything. And I thought that was like a great way for what do you call that? Method acting. But yeah, so just the attention to detail with Spike as a young director, because talking about coming out the gate on fire, the only time I've seen that with a Black director, like you coming out hot, smoking, I've seen it with Jordan Peele. I would say Spike is the one that was able to maintain that heat for the longest. So he has some shorts, but then you have She's Gotta Have It, you have this, then you have Do the Right Thing. I may be mixing the order around, but to have these as your 3 first films, you're a heavyweight, bro. You coming out swinging. And it's because of methods like that.
Yeah. So to jump on to what you said, the steps show the fight supposedly was real because it was so much built up animosity because of the separation of how this group was being treated compared to this group. I'm watching now on IMDb some of my notes.
You're gonna cut my legs off for my next fun fact because
when they said wake up, that was the last word spoken, right, in School Daze. Yep. But it's the first word spoken on Do the Right Thing, which was the very next film.
Interesting. Another fun tidbit. So, you know, like how we talk about some of the best schools are the fictional schools, like Hillman.
Yep.
I got my grad degree from Hillman. You know, honorary degree from Mission. So Mission College was actually supposed to be his actual real alma mater, but they wasn't playing that. When they got to look at the script, they said, "Hey, we don't need any bad publicity. Not really sure what you're trying to do." And they basically said, "Nah, you can't. No, actually, he was supposed to film in Georgia at Morehouse, and then he actually had to go to DC to film there because Morehouse didn't want to have anything to do with the film. They didn't want to be tied.
Yeah, because that's his. Yep.
Yeah. So then he went up to DC and filmed it there. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Okay. Just something else I found. Vanessa Williams was originally supposed to be Jane Toussaint but due to Tisha Campbell's vocals in Little Shop of Horrors, that's what made him lean more towards her. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And so Spike Lee, sometimes Spike Lee could be a little outspoken. He definitely says what's on his mind, whether he's at a Knicks game or whether he's behind the mic in an interview. And he says Bill Cosby copied his idea of this for Different World. I don't necessarily agree with that assessment. However, I would say this. I think there was already plans to do a Different World. However, I feel like this was the blueprint to show that you could be a level of unapologetically Black and still kind of keep the audience. So like if you look at that first season of Different World and how I ain't really know if you get into HBCU vibes from that. I do think they were able to, whether they want to admit it or not, they were definitely influenced by this film. So and you could draw a direct correlation just to the cast alone. See what I'm saying? But go ahead.
So let's think about it. Look at Whitley, light skin. I'm from Virginia. My father is a judge. Wayne
from New York.
His father from
Brooklyn.
New York, Brooklyn. I think his father was a bus driver.
No, his father worked on the transit system.
Okay. Okay. So basically two separate worlds that needed each other.
Here's another thing. I think the way Ron Johnson's character was supposed to be a loser and a lame, but when they got to look at how the swag that he had on this film, they was like, bro, we need some of that. Like make Ron Johnson a little bit cooler. So definitely Different World allowed them to be themselves because this movie did the same thing. Dwayne Wayne
second season on. Second season on. First season he was, hey Buttercup, like
I think Debbie Allen saw this movie and was like, no, we need some of that. We need some.
And it's funny about Ron Johnson because he was a Gamma. He was Kappa Lambda Nu.
Yeah.
However, he's actually Alpha in real life.
Yep.
So he pledged two separate fraternities, two made up fraternities where he's actually an Alpha. So it's actually pretty funny. And Dwayne was online with Ron, but he dropped.
And on this, he can't stand fraternities.
And
it's consistent with his character.
Yep.
So
matter of fact, Barry, this might be a 24 ways.
24 reasons these movies are the same, right? These movies and these shows are the same.
There you go. And I think, hey man, but what you said though, there is definitely a correlation between School Daze and Different World.
Yeah, for sure.
Point blank period. I think once Denise once she got pregnant in real life and they had to take focus off of her and they focus on Dwayne and Whitley.
Yeah, it was starring Dwayne and Whitley, but co-starring the school. I think they made the school a bigger character.
Yes, they actually made, I truly believe they did that along with whatever was the modern day issues, because apartheid, HIV, any stigmatisms, racism when Whitley went and bought the
subtext was,
a lot of that stuff.
You could keep the subtext Black, and that's what I mean for them to. This movie, it did relatively well for Spike to be such an unknown director and it to be a majority Black cast. These movies aren't supposed to. This movie would never get released today. Like that's how successful it is, So
Rotten Tomatoes, they had it averaged at a 5.9 out of 10. But
you know where that's coming from.
Exactly, because this is a cultural movie. Yeah. You have to understand the culture.
Yeah, Ebert would talk about that sometimes, like how I really saw it with Boomerang to where like sometimes you had people who didn't understand the the culture grading these movies, and I think like it stood the test of time. When I hear individuals saying they're motivated to go to college or go to an HBCU, I think Different World is cited the most
Yep.
I don't think I'm tripping when I say this is probably the second most citation when it comes to getting credited for I wanted to go to school because of this.
I'm gonna think of four reasons, which two we're discussing now, School Daze and Different World.
Yeah.
And I think for the generation that around the mid to late 2000s, it would be Stomp the Yard and Drumline.
Yeah. I
and both took place on HBCU campus.
Yep. Yeah, those schools are, and it's so weird because a lot of times they're using fictional fraternities or sororities or fake school names. It's because the schools don't want to have anything to do with the actual stigma of the brand.
Which is crazy.
But they're proving they're sending people to the school, so that's weird. I just need to go ahead and let people use the likeness.
I mean, I would, I would, but hey, who are
this
we?
The last time. This in Different World is the last time you'll ever see characters in real letters. Like you're gonna see, oh, there's real alphas in the film. There's real, oh, look at the real deltas over there. Like, and even with that, outside of the alphas, they wasn't really wearing their letters like that.
Yeah, so, like, I think the alphas,
I don't understand that.
I did see Kappas in the movie, but they were in the parade. They had,
I may be tripping on the football game. They were in the parade. You're actually right.
They had a float. Yeah, and I think the Deltas, I want to say, had a float as well. Yeah. But one thing I did want to say is, for the Gammas, G5G, Gamma Phi Gamma.
Yeah,
it's a toss up between which fraternity they are. In my opinion, they are a cross between the Omegas, Q-Dogs, and the Kappas. I think they're like a combination of the two, and you got G5G. So, and the Gamma Rays, we can call them an auxiliary group. But if we had to compare them to a sorority, I would say the AKAs.
Yeah, I agree with the AKAs. With the G5Gs, I feel like they embodied every single stereotype. Like you could see it within the brothers. Like Patton is a Q. He's that, your muscle. He's the one that's like the dirty dog or whatever. Then you have people like Julian. That's okay. He's giving me alpha vibes. Maybe it's the stereotypical glasses, but definitely he could go with toe to toe. Wits wise, he could go toe to toe with that. And then you have the pretty boys like Dr. Feelgood. Okay, that's giving me Kappa vibes. Some of the light-skinned ones in the back giving me Kappa vibes. And I feel like DAP's crew, to me, I don't know if it's maybe just my chapter, but they giving me Sigma vibes. Like, you know what I mean? Like
they gave me just like a click at a school. That's only at
the step show. I was like, and Bill he's ahead of me. So when I would see y'all on campus, y'all gave me those vibes. Like, okay, them boys, y'all are a clique, but hey man, y'all talk y'all stuff, and ain't nobody really, they too scared to speak up. Y'all got it. Y'all run the yard. So I do feel like they took they pulled some of their characteristics from fraternities, but I don't think that was intentional. But I think with the G5G group, I think they embody all of the fraternities to some degree.
It could have been, yeah. Probably.
So it's 35 years. I think it deserves a rewatch. I'm probably, just from this conversation, I'm gonna go see what I missed, if some other stuff. But Bill, like, hey, we listed some of our favorite moments, some of our favorite songs, and then we also talked about impact. Me and you kind of was on the same page. We talk about this movie a lot, so we agree. But what about if somebody has a different opinion than us and they want to highlight some stuff we left off?
You know what to do. Go to the comment section. We renamed that My 2 Cents, and leave your 2 cents. Let us know what you think about the movie. What do you think about Mission College? Gammas, Gammites, the fellas. Just let us know any and everything that you remember about this movie. Leave it in the comment section. We call My 2 Cents.
All right. What's another way they could show support, Bill?
Support us, please. Like this video, leave a comment, as we stated, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that whenever we have any new content, you're instantly notified.
All right. Hey, Bill. Hey, that's all that I got. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Peace.
Peace.